We can talk a lot about the Shanahan system. We could talk a lot about Deebo Samuel being the ultimate weapon. We could talk about Kittle being the top 3 tight end and so on and so forth. But it wasn't until Christian McCaffrey got there to when the whole thing just seemed to unlock. And you could think that's hyperbole because you want to believe in the Kyle Shanahan wizardry, but none of it was really working that great until they made the deal for Christian McCaffrey. 49ers offense before and after McCaffrey joined the starting lineup. Through 7 weeks, you see the win-loss record 3-4, that's fine. 10-0 after they got McCaffrey. Now that's easy stats, easy numbers, right? Points per game, they go from 21, which was 20th at the time, to 31. We round up here, so from 21 to 31, a 10-point difference by having C-Mac in the fold. Yards per game, they go from 13th with 355 to 373, which was 5th. Third down percentage took a bump up there as well. Yards per pass attempt, 8 yards, which was 10th, to over 8, which was 2nd. And probably more importantly, when you consider the QBs that were throwing him the rock, passer rating, 19th at 87.2, all the way to 114.1, which was first. Now, that's with Jimmy G and Purdy. 2 QBs that none of us here really think that high of. But just a simple addition of the weapon, the real ultimate weapon, which is Christian McCaffrey, the numbers speak for themselves. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. There's more. McCaffrey during the 49ers' 10-game winning streak to end the regular season. He ranked 3rd in scrimmage yards, 2nd in scrimmage touchdowns, 2nd in yards per touch, and had the 2nd first downs to TDs per play percentage in the league. Before Christian McCaffrey got there, teams were zoning the 49ers to death. They only played man about 35 to 38% of the time. After they got McCaffrey, the teams decided they had to switch up and man up to where it was top 5 in the league. So they went from middle of the pack in terms of facing man-to-man defense. So teams were predominantly zoning against the Shanahan system. And if you look at those numbers, it was working. Guess what that does for a play caller in Shanahan? It's a lot easier to scheme people open when you're playing against man. Okay? It's a lot easier. The rub routes work a little bit better against man. Sluggos work a little bit better against man. So McCaffrey's infusion into the Shanahan system is really what unlocks it. Shanahan's never had a weapon like this. Never. At any skill position. The way that he's now going to be able to cook, because McCaffrey has even been speaking leading into this season saying, look, now I know the playbook. He wasn't even really locked in. Now he knows the scheme. Now he's more familiar. Can you imagine? We just ran down these numbers. Can you imagine what these numbers will look like with a full off-season training camp, preseason under his belt? And then you go and give him the 5th easiest schedule in the league. And the line is still at 10.5? I'm not here to tell you who to bet on, but I think there's definitely a futures bet to be made if you're telling me the 49ers are at 10.5, McCaffrey's healthy. I almost don't give a damn if it's Purdy or Trey Lance. I just know it can't be Sam Darnold. I just know it cannot be Sam Darnold. But I almost don't care if it's Purdy or Trey Lance. Now, clearly, the 49ers want it to be Brock Purdy, and all signs are pointing towards Brock Purdy being the guy at center week 1. Now, he certainly has his transgressions when you're talking about Brock Purdy. Not the greatest arm, okay? And if you go back to how he looked in college, it's not that surprising that he was a 7th round draft pick. It's not that surprising that he was Mr. Irrelevant. However, between the end of his college career and stepping onto the field for Jimmy G last year, those are 2 different QBs. From what scouts and evaluators have said, who have chopped down the tape, I'm not going to sit here and chop down no goddamn Brock Purdy college tape comparison to what I saw last year, but I'll trust their words. They're saying those are 2 different quarterbacks. So if he can be what he was last year, which is don't screw it up, use the weapons that you clearly have at your disposal, and just follow the scheme, because it wasn't like he was freestyling out there. You're not getting a lot of freestyling with Brock Purdy. And why would you think he would? Your job is to, whatever comes in that headset, you spit that and you follow it. First read, second read, no read, dump it off to C-Mac. That's a hell of a check down, bruh. That's a hell of a check down. Ayuk's not there. Debo's not there. Kittle's not there. Oh, yeah, I'll just swing it over here to Christian McCaffrey. That's why this system looks amazing. Because when I put damn near all pros at all the skill positions, how can this system not work? Even with Jimmy G, at times it looked like it was working. But they were just missing that one more weapon in the backfield. They go out there, they go get McCaffrey, and then away we go. 21 points to 31 points. 10-game winning streak. Top 5 in total yards. 2nd overall in yards per pass attempt. Number 1 in passer rating. That's not a coincidence. The fact that this team, this era of the 49ers, when you're talking about what they have done in terms of the draft, has not been that great. Like, we can even go all the way back to Solomon Thomas and how that didn't work. What they had to leverage to move up, to go get Trey Lance. And that clearly has not panned out. The fact that, obviously he's at an extremely small, he's only started, 4 games? Extremely small sample size, but clearly he hasn't shown enough to not beat out Brock Purdy, who's probably listening intently to every syllable Kyle Shanahan says, because he knows if I just do what this guy says, I'm going to be the starting quarterback for one of the greatest offenses in this league. So I'm not going to mess this up. I'm not going to improvise. I'm not going to try to show and prove. I'm just happy to be here. Trey Lance, because of where he was drafted, because of what was given up to get him, and because of the fact that he's been beset by injuries, he's got a humongous chip on his shoulder. So he's trying to be Superman every time he goes out there, and that's the problem. In the Shanahan scheme, it doesn't leave a lot of room for improvisation. Look, if you need to scramble, sure, go. But in terms of freestyling, no. And then we could add on the fact of, look what you got around you. The hell are you freestyling for? You got Kittle up the seam. You got Debo doing Debo things. You got Ayuk underneath. You've got Christian McCaffrey doing a wheel route. Like, why are you freestyling? How many secondaries can legitimately guard all those skill positions play after play after play? You should only have to really improvise maybe once or twice a half with those skill positions there. And you got Trent Williams anchoring the line. You should not have to be concerned about any goddamn thing about I'm going to be running around for my life. No. Their biggest question marks are going to be defense, and it's not even necessarily, I'm always partial to, locking in on the D-line, but I think their biggest question marks are going to be in the secondary. It's a mosh posh group, in my opinion. But with DeMeco Ryans not there and Steve Wilks coming in, Steve Wilks is saying a lot of good things to me because he's saying, look, this scheme that, you know, DeMeco Ryans ran and Saleh before him, it's a lot of zone. He's like, I don't run a lot of zone. I run man. And if you look at the numbers from last year, when the 49ers defense did play man, they were kind of more successful in man than zone. But be that as it may, he said he's going to keep some of the, you know, the foundation elements of the scheme, which is a zone defense. But he said, look, I'm going to increase the blitzing and I'm going to increase, you know, the man coverage. So, you know, I'm interested to see what Wilks can do with this defense. So those are your San Francisco 49ers. I'm taking the over at 10.5. You know, obviously, fifth easiest strength of schedule in the league. As you see here, I think if you're placing bets, you got to pay a lot of attention to that. The Giants were up here last year. The Eagles were up here last year. And, you know, obviously the Eagles are more talented and they should have been where they ended up being in terms of the Super Bowl. But a team like the Giants came up and flashed because they had an easy schedule and no one paid attention to that. Some of us did, and some of us cashed out. But, you know, in terms of this year, you're looking at a team that's already stacked like the 49ers. Give them an easy schedule. I just don't see how they lose 7 times.